who is moving on the waters, who is holding up the moon, who is peeling back the darkness with the burning light of noon, who is standing on the mountains, who is on the earth below, who is bigger than the heavens, and the lover of my soul. Creator God, He is Yahweh. The great I am, He is Yahweh. The Lord of all, He is Yahweh. Rose of Sharon, He is Yahweh. Righteous Son, He is Yahweh. The three-in-one, He is Yahweh. Who is He? I enter the Holy of Holies. I enter through the blood of the Lamb. I enter to worship you only. I enter to honor I am. Lord, I worship you. I worship you. Lord, I worship you. I worship you, for your name is holy, holy, Lord. For your name is holy, holy, Lord. I am.
Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for what is right, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted in the cause of right, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people abuse you and persecute you and speak all kinds of calumny against you for my sake. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward will be great in heaven, as it was for the prophets persecuted before you. In your prayers, remember your Father knows what your needs are before you ask Him. This is how you should pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill Bean, the Spiritual Warrior, and welcome back to another Warrior Mode. And thank you for being a part of this broadcast and for being a part of my ministry as well. We're definitely in this thing together, and we need to come together more now than ever before, that's for sure. So I hope all of you have had a great week, and I always look forward to all of us getting together here on Friday nights into Saturday morning and giving real and authentic praise to our glorious God. And while we're mentioning Him, let's bring Him into this. And Father, we thank you and praise you for this blessed and appointed time. We ask that you would be with us during this broadcast and during every second of our lives. We want your favor, Father, and I pray that everybody will strive to make you first and keep you first. And we ask that you bless us here. I ask that you speak through me to speak truth and work me to be a blessing. Everybody involved in this broadcast, I ask that you keep them in your hedge of protection 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for life. And I ask that you continue to bless them with an abundance of love, peace, joy, good health, and prosperity forevermore. In Yahshua Jesus the Christ's name, glory, hallelujah. And our power declaration. I'm loved, favored, called, and chosen. I'm anointed, appointed, equipped, and enabled by the power of God working through me. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. No enemy scheme against me shall succeed. I live, breathe, and serve the Most High God in each and every day of my life, and I'll do so for the rest of my life, that's for sure. So it's been quite a week again. I'm filled with a lots of headlines. And I could very easily read 20 headlines, and I just don't want to do that tonight. I'm going to read a few, but we need to really stand together now in faith, and we need to stand against this evil. Now, I'm absolutely convinced. I was convinced many years ago, and I'm really convinced now that Yahweh is giving the devil this short time to have his way on the earth. And he's doing just that. Everything is upside down and backwards. There's a reason for that. And the reason is that it is in the devil's order, which is order out of chaos. Now, 5 years ago, back in 2018, I wrote the book Stranger Than Fiction. And I'm going to read an excerpt from that. And again, keep in mind, this was 5 years ago. And this is what I wrote in the book 5 years ago. Why does it seem that we as a society are immersed in a sea of negativity on a daily basis? And we surely are. Why are there so many movies and TV shows and songs and video games that glorify the devil and evil? Why does it seem that those who stand up for good and for what's right are vilified? I truly believe that this is all by design, because if you could keep people on low frequency, low vibration, you can control them. So I've said for up to 10 years now, that all life operates on frequency and vibration. And the reason for that is when God spoke the world into existence, Yahweh spoke the world into existence by his voice, which is frequency and vibration. Therefore, all life operates on that principle. I've followed a timeline that began in the late 1950s. I'd say probably, looking back now, I'd have to say probably from 1956 on from there. And I'm convinced that we are where we are today as a crumbling society because of the things that were implemented and introduced and indoctrinated back then. I believe that, after World War II, the Nazi scientists, some of them were brought over to here, and they went to work either for this jet propulsion laboratory, which became NASA. Either they went to work for that, or they were involved in the black ops, which were mind control ops, and used as weapons of warfare, but experimented on the people of America to completely understand how the mind works and what drugs and tactics and techniques can be used on the human mind to control the mind, and therefore the targeted subject, the occupant of that mind. So this stuff has been implemented since then. It's a social engineering agenda, and it was designed, really targeted on the youth to get them to rebel against their parents, because there was an agenda to break up the American family. And so from 1950 to 1955, we're 56, it was the greatest time for the American family. And so there was an agenda plan put together to end that, and certainly by ending it, you had to bring in tactics to get the children to rebel against their parents that would fracture the families, and it worked like a charm. Both Hollywood and the music industry have played a huge role in the quest to divide and conquer the American family. So it's worked, and it's still working. I believe that these industries have been infiltrated by a faction that wanted to destabilize America and destroy Christianity. Once the agenda began to take place, it has steadily spiraled downward to present day, where we are in the toilet, the absolute gutter, to the point to where somebody like Vladimir Putin, who's supposed to be the bad guy of the world, is pointing out how vile America has become, and how the morals and ideals and values that we once had are gone now. They're in the gutter. So let that sink in. Aristotle explained the destructiveness of certain kinds of music. He held that emotions are produced by melody and rhythm, and that music has the power to form character. The Greek philosopher affirmed that musical arrangements are so important that the various modes may be distinguished by their effects on character. One, for example, fosters melancholy, can make a person sad. Another can lead to rage and aggression, lack of self-control, motivation, enthusiasm, depression. And then there are forms of music which are praise and worship songs, real and authentic praise and worship songs to our God, Yahweh, that lift us up. See, they don't want that. Society doesn't want that. The world doesn't want that because they want to keep us on low frequency, low vibration. So that's why we start this broadcast out with praise and worship music, because we want to start to get all of you in the high frequency, high vibration warrior mode. Now, we talk about these disturbing things, but all aware that I have a job to do, and that is to bring your frequency and vibration back up. Even after talking about these disturbing things, God works through me to bring you back. And that's very, very important, because we don't want to be on low. The world is on low. And that's why we're having all this craziness, because the devil capitalizes and pounces on low frequency and low vibration. It's right out of his playbook. And I also went on to say here, however, I will ask you to consider the words of Jesus when he said that you will know them by their fruit. And it's absolutely true. So if someone, and we talked about this before, if someone is claiming to be a person of God, and they could quote scriptures all day long, but if they're not walking the walk, they could talk the talk all day, but if they're not walking the walk, then they've got nothing. Read the book of James. He gave a rebuke to somebody about that. Silly, vain man, don't you know that faith without the works is dead? So you can proclaim faith all day long. You can hit people over the head with Bible scriptures all day long. But if you're not living what you're talking, then you are an imposter and you've got nothing. None of us. I could write a lengthy book on the mistakes that I've made in life. But I'm real and I'm authentic, and my walk with God is real and authentic. And my mission in life, that God has called me on this mission, in this service, as a spiritual warrior, as a teacher, and as a man of God that not only serves Yahweh, but I serve my fellow man as well through this broadcast and through various other ways. But this is who I am, being in service to God. So none of us will ever be perfect, but we must strive for excellence, because if we're truly committed to God, then we are committed to his excellence. And if we're committed to his excellence, then we should refuse to lose. Doesn't mean that life becomes perfect. We all have a set of issues and challenges in life. However, what it does mean is when the issues and challenges come along, God will help us to meet them and to overcome them. So let's keep in mind that the world is a very place full of temptations. We have to stand strong against it. Always keep focused on God and let him to guide us in our ways. And that's why he sends Jesus into our life, to guide us on that narrow path to him. So this is not a race, this life. It's a contest. So here we go. Matthew 7, verses 15 and 16. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes or thorns, or figs or thistles? What he meant by that was to study, again, who you are listening to and following, and lifting up. And I've said it a million times on here, and I'll say it 1,000,001. The things that I say to you, you don't have to take my word for anything. Pray about it and ask God if I'm speaking the truth, and then do your own research, and the truth will set you free. If your connection with God is strong, then you will have the spiritual discernment to know if a person, TV show, movie, entertainer, sports figure, politician, religious figure is actually good or not. I could write quite a list of what some would call good that actually are rotten to the core. There are entertainers who claim to be Christian, yet they perform satanic music and call it dark art. We've talked about some of these people, and they're welcome to come on here anytime and rebuke me and tell me how wrong I am, and tell me why they're right in proclaiming to be a Christian, yet performing satanic music and being a part of the satanic entertainment industry. Come on, tell me how wrong I am. I'll listen. I'll let you plead your case. So think about that for a second, and be like a drug dealer saying that he does not use drugs. Those who would say that are admitting that they don't have any problem poisoning others because they're just doing a job, providing a service, and making cash. Yet some performers make no bones about being satanic and take great pleasure in filling people with a gospel of evil and darkness. There's many of those, and they're growing by the day. Some have been quoted as saying that they are ministers to their followers. Daryl Hall is one. Hall & Oates, was quoted as saying that he's a minister. He comes from a family of godly men, Christian ministers, but he stated, quoted as saying that he followed Crowley and wanted to be the exact opposite of the godly men in his family, and he wanted to be a preacher of rebellion on stage, promoting the ideals and values of Aleister Crowley and lack thereof, that's for sure. They're truly preaching a gospel of darkness, one that keeps people on low frequency and low vibration. It's true. Here's a question for you. If you were part of an invading force from outside of the earth that wanted to take over the devil, how would you do it? I could tell you, I think that the devil would do it. The devil and his would use technology to captivate and distract humans. It's really an enslavement. They would also use devices such as CERN and HARP to open and control the atmosphere. He is the prince in the power of the air, which means the airwaves. They would change and alter names, times, sayings, spellings, Bible script writings, and other things. Well, Mandela effect. President Ronald Reagan said this during a speech that he was giving to the UN on September 21st, 1987. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside of this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? Of course, he knew it then. And it's really prominent and prevalent now, to where I'm expecting, just as I spoke in this 2018 book that I wrote about these things that were upon us that have now manifested into reality. And I expect in the coming months, I'll be surprised if it's another year that goes by before we see this alien invasion, and whether it is false, Project Bluebeam, perpetrated by the dark black ops in the government, or it is a real and authentic invasion that the devil has orchestrated to send these beings in here to kill, rob, and destroy. And men's hearts are going to fail them. When this takes place, people are going to drop dead from heart attacks just by what they're going to see and witness. So the reason for me mentioning all this is we have to be ready. And the only way that we can be ready is to have rock solid faith. And the only way that we can have rock solid faith is by keeping Yahweh first and having Jesus in our life, guiding us on that narrow path back to the Father. Let's see. The goal would be to cause confusion, which leads to division. Look at our world now, specifically America. The agenda would be to lower the frequency and vibration of not only the earth, but the entire human, especially Americans. The devil's invading, use certain frequencies through cell towers, TVs, computers, and other things to alter and control human behavior. Just take a look at the headlines every day. They would poison the air, the seas, the food, and the water. Yes, 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 and yes, all happening. Divide and conquer tactics would be used on the people, along with lying signs and wonders. They would make humans turn against each other with violence and murder, and would lead the people of the earth to be lovers of themselves, lacking in morals and compassion. People would turn against each other with a division like none other than before. Yes, we're seeing it now. Unimaginable crimes would be committed against children as if it were sacrificed to the devil. Yes, we're seeing that now. Jesus said that we are to love one another and that we should be blessed. It's the devil who is selfish, and it is he who tricks you into being selfish as well. Video games would be created to take over the minds of some of the youth, desensitizing them into accepting violence and murder as normal. Yes, we're seeing it. Narratives and agendas would be pushed to promote lawlessness and rebellion, going back to the Aleister Crowley credo and teaching of do what thou will is the whole of the law. Yes. The devil invaders or the evil invaders would create utter chaos in the world through wars and rumors of wars, urban blight, mass shootings, race wars, political, civil unrest, gender blending, political correctness, the legalization of drugs, pushing for legalization of pedophilia. Where do I get to the first headline? Along with any other means necessary in order to destabilize society. There would be a heavy promotion of satanic commercials, songs, shows, movies, bands, and celebrities. Clothing lines would be created with satanic symbols on them. So even tattoo their bodies with satanic symbols as well. Large numbers of people would become addicted to drugs, alcohol, cell phones, false idols, and hellish music. Those who stand up for Yahweh and for what is good and right will be vilified. Those who stand up for evil will become heroes. Isaiah 5:20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. Does all sound familiar to you? It should, because we're currently living in a world that is exactly like my hypothesis. It's time to wake up and see what's really going on around us. Man can be easily controlled by money, power, food, and sex. Now ask yourself, what are the most popular movies and shows and songs and commercials and TikToks and all this other stuff featuring? That's what it's featuring. So I wrote that 5 years ago, and look at how, let that sink in for a second, then we'll get to some headline thing that I want to read. And this is from the Encyclopedia Judaica. Now, in a lot of my studies, I spent years and years in biblical studies, but I also got a lot of historical information through encyclopedias. And this is the Encyclopedia Judaica, and this states, and this came out in 1972, volume 7, page 680. The name par excellence for the creator of the universe is Yahweh, Yahweh, found 6,823 times in the Old Testament. Through Israel's deliverance from bondage in Egypt, adoption as a nation, and guidance to the promised land, the creator, redeemer, is especially known by his name, and that name is Yahweh. The Interpreter's Dictionary, 1962, volume 4, page 923, says Yahweh, the vocalization of the 4 consonants of the Israelite name for the creator, which scholars believe to approximate the original pronunciation. And then it goes on to say the Encyclopedia Judaica, 1972, volume 7, page 680, states emphatically the true pronunciation of the name of YHWH was never lost. Several early Greek writers of the Christian church testify that the name was pronounced Yahweh. Okay, so let's settle that for right now, because there have been some questions from people saying that they read Yahweh was the old war god of Israel and all this. Don't be deceived. There are many out there that want to deceive us and keep us from the real name of our Creator. God is a title. God in Hebrew means Elohim. Elohim means gods. Yahweh is the most high Elohim. Okay? First commandment says, you shall worship no other gods before me. That's because there's other gods under him. He is the most high Elohim gods. Okay? So Yahshua, that's his real name. Yahshua. Joshua. Yahshua is his name. And that means Yahweh saves. Yahweh saves through him. Now, when this all got translated from Hebrew and Aramaic into Koine Greek, there's to this day, there's no letter J in the Hebrew alphabet. And the letter J was the last letter added to the English alphabet. And so in the 1611 King James Bible, Jesus' Greek name was Jesus with an I. You can look it up. It's there. It was not Jesus. It was Jesus. But that's not correct either. His name is Yahshua. Now, I'm not going to say that you can't say Jesus or even Jesus, because it's intent. So if we're saying a name, it is intent to connect with the Christos, the blessed Son, and the anointed one of Yahweh, and that is Yahshua. So I will not fault anybody for saying Jesus or even Jesus, because their intent is to connect with the high priest, the Melchizedek of the Most High God. Now, some people disagree with me, and I urge you to research Melchizedek. Okay. Melchizedek is and was, still is, the high priest for Yahweh. And in my opinion, based on prayer and studies, he is Yahshua. There's nobody else that could fulfill that role. In Hebrews, I want to say it's Hebrews 7. I'm not quite sure. I have to look at it, the scripture again. States that you are a priest forever in the order. It's talking about Jesus, Yahshua. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. He was and is the Melchizedek, the high priest. You'd have some say, oh, no, that was Shem. That was part of the priestly order with Shem. No, I'm sorry. I don't believe that for 1 second. Because if you really dig into this and study it, it says he was born without mother and father. He was created. He was created by Yahweh himself. So if in fact that's true, that places him as the Christ, the Christos, the anointed one, the one that Yahweh would save the world through. So pray about it, research it, and you'll come to I'm pretty sure you'll come to the same conclusions that I have. So these headlines, it bothers me so much in how I read. These headlines. And the main reason that I those excerpts, and one was from Stranger Than Fiction, and the other one was from because we have arrived at a place now that I've been telling people for years that it was going to happen. I didn't want to be right. I didn't want to be right about any of this. This is not about being right. This is about God showing me something, and other people as well. And now we've arrived at this. I'm going to put in these headlines for you. I always do every week. But now there is a major push to legalize pedophilia. There always has been. But now this is the last domino to fall, because they recently, and this is the UN World Economic Forum and all these organizations that are, it's a small group of people that control the world, and they're taking their orders directly from the devil via these reptilian entities. I believe it 100%. And so all of these organizations, the UN, the World Economic, all these different Council on Foreign Affairs, all these different organizations, these are the power elite that are clumped together in all these Committee of 300, all these. There's different types of organizations, but they're one brotherhood. They are the rulers and controllers of the people of planet Earth. But they're being ruled and controlled by the devil and his foot soldiers, these reptilian beings. It's pushed to finally legalize pedophilia. They've put these laws and mandates out that they wanted to recently bring into law, that it would be lawful for humans to marry pets and animals and have sexual relations with them and normalize that. And now the last domino to fall will be to legal pedophilia. They're absolutely in the process of doing it. They had this new UN-backed legal recommendation by sex with minors. I've been talking about this for at least the last 5 years. Now here we are. It says a shocking report issued by the international legal experts with nations appears to be open to open the floodgates to normalize pedophilia, sex with minors, sexual conduct involving prescribed minimum age of consent to sex may be consensual, in fact, if not in law. The Geneva-based International Commission of Jurists wrote in March, with an assist from UNAIDS and the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. The report is titled "The Principles for a Human Rights-Based Approach to Criminal Law Proscribing Conduct Associated with Sex, Reproduction, Drug Use, HIV, Homelessness, and Poverty." So I'm going to put this in the chat for you guys to see. It's me to even have to read something like that, to report something like that to you. It's just, where do you go from there? And I'm firmly convinced of this. When this last domino falls, and this is legalized, and I read another headline before coming on the show tonight about a pedophile, a transgender pedophile that was grooming children and having sex with them and was caught, and now has gotten a very light sentence. So we're already seeing the wheels turning here, that they're absolutely going to do anything and everything that they can to legalize this and make this normal. And you also have, people out there that are threatening normal people by saying that, you're not going to stop a transgender from using, if a transgender wants to use a woman's restroom and they are attempted to be stopped, then it'll be the last mistake that a person makes to stop them from going into a woman's restroom. And I'll tell you one thing. If I was in public at a restaurant or somewhere, my wife had to use the ladies' room, and I see a man going in behind her, I can assure you of this. I will get up from the table, I will go into that restroom, and that man will come flying out of that restroom. That I can assure you of. And take the same approach as well. You cannot allow these things to happen, even if the threat is going to jail over it. I'm not going to let that happen. Not happening. And I hope that all of you men out there will be the same with your wives and loved ones as well. That, you know, if your daughter, child going into a restroom, that a man suddenly goes in behind the child, you can't just sit there and let that happen. You got to get up and take action, even if it means you're going to be arrested. So what? You got to protect your loved one. And we've come to that now. And look, I love all people. I want peace with everybody and for everybody. But I'm not going to sit and allow somebody to do something wicked against me or my loved ones. Not going to happen. Not for 1 second. So I hope all of you out there will take that to heart and take that approach as well. That's how it used to be. You know, in the olden days, you know, you wouldn't have these things, because if someone tried to do this, then the whole town or community would come against that person, and they'd no longer be with us. That's for sure. So we've just got to stand against it, because the devil has his spirit of rebellion on the whole world, especially America, and the laws of America now are favoring the perpetrators. So again, the people that stand up for good and right are going to be vilified and probably jailed as well, because the perpetrators have all the rights, and they can do as much evil as they want, whatever they want, however they. A prime example of this is California. Who in their right mind would want to live there or move there? They have a thing to where you could go into a Walmart or a Target or a grocery store or whatever it may be, CVS, Walgreens, all these places are closing up in droves, because these perpetrators are going into these types of places and they're stealing just under $960 worth of merchandise. They're walking right out, because they have laws there can take with up to $960 worth of merchandise before you're prosecuted. What is that saying? That's giving a green light to lawlessness, to anarchy, to theft, destruction of property. That comes right back to Aleister Crowley again. Do what thou wills, the whole of the law. We are seeing it. We're living it. And next up in the headlines, again, you have to see this to believe it. There's a company called Axe, A-X-E. They have deodorants and body sprays for men. And they have a cute little commercial out now that is absolutely satanic. They make no bones about it. They talk about the goat. We keep seeing this, the goat, the goat, the goat. And what this is a praise of Satan. You know, the little acronym, greatest of all time. It is a praise to Satan. And this commercial is openly praising the devil. And I would never, ever, Axe could send me cases of their products and I would burn them. I would never use that junk, that satanic garbage, ever. And I'm urging all of you as well. Men, if you're out there listening to this and you're using these Axe products, throw them in the trash immediately and don't use their junk anymore. This is the only way that we're going to be able to stand against the evil that is blatantly put in front of us on a daily basis. Don't buy their products anymore. Look at Bud Light. That was disastrous what they did there. Having that transgender as the spokesperson and the model and the face, they've lost billions of dollars. They're in the toilet now. Nobody wants their product anymore. So this is what happens when we come together and we say, no, we're not having this. We're not going to participate in this, and we're not going to have this in our life. So we tune them out and don't participate or don't buy their products anymore. And it's the same thing for Hollywood. These filthy garbage songs, and all this other garbage, if we tune it out and we say that we're not going to watch it anymore, participate, or buy it, they're done. People who fund these hard-earned monies. So if we suddenly say, okay, we really do have power when we come together, because if we shut these types out, they got nothing and they're done. So let that be an example. The Bud Light thing alone, let that be an example that we can come together as people of God and people of America as well, to say we're not having this. Therefore, we're not going to support, endorse, or condone it, and it will go away. Watch and see. It's going to go away one way or the other. I can assure you of this. If that last falls and pedophilia does become legalized, which I believe it will very soon, then Yahweh himself is either going to bring swift destruction on America, or he's going to give us over to our enemies, Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran, to invade this country, and it'll be over for America. Do I want to see this happen? No. But I'm telling you right now, when this kind of blatant evil and wickedness takes place, it is a thumbing of the nose to God. Do you think he's going to just sit back? I mean, he sat back because he loves us so much that he doesn't want to see us destroyed. He doesn't want to see our land destroyed. But how much more can he take? Now, I am not he, and I can't think like him. I can't begin to understand his greatness. So based on my little small mind and interpretation of things, and perhaps how he might react, my opinion is, and I have a strong feeling as well, I've also had some dreams about it, that he is going to act, and it is going to be utter destruction. Now, I don't want you to fear about this, because even though he may bring utter destruction, just like he did to Sodom and Gomorrah and Nineveh and other places, Atlantis, he still will protect his good and faithful people. This is why it's so imperative, it's so important for you to keep God first in your life. I'm urging you to do so, because I really feel in my spirit, just as I felt with the things that I wrote about in 2018 that have now manifested into reality. Some people call me crazy. They call me, I'm a crazy man. I'm a phony who entertains people with my stupid books. And I'm a Jim Jones type of individual, these types of things. They've said it all, and I don't care, because God has put these things on me to report to you. I'm not only a warrior for God, I'm a watchman for him as well. So I am, by his power and by his choosing, he chose this for me. I didn't choose to do this. He called me to do this, and he chose me into this service. So yes, he chose me to be a spiritual warrior. He works through me to deliver people from demons and places and things as well. He made me to be a teacher. I do my best to fulfill that role. He has called me to do my best to fulfill that role. And I'll continue to do so for the rest of my life. So I would never say anything to any of you unless I 100% believed it was true. And when I'm troubled by something, I will pray about it and ask God to give me a confirmation on it. Now, he doesn't directly speak to me. I'm not Jesse Duplantis. My goodness, I don't make trips to heaven every week and sit down and talk with God. He doesn't ask for my opinion and on how to run things, and not like old Jesse and others like him. So God doesn't directly speak to me yet. In a way, he does. He gives me a knowing of things. There will be a voice in my head. It's sort of like my own voice that will give me an answer. Or there's oftentimes that if I'm troubled, I have a Bible on my desk. And if I'm troubled by something and I need an answer, I'll go over, I pray first and ask God to reveal it to me. And then go over and blindly close my eyes, flip the Bible open, and my answer will be on one page or the other. So that's how I go about things when I'm challenged and troubled by certain things, and I want and need answers. And you should do the same thing. So I make no apologies for giving you truth. I feel bad about some of the things that I say because I don't want it to be so. You know that I stand against certain things, and I love everybody. I don't hate anybody. I've helped people from all walks of life and will continue to do so. But there are certain things that I just personally cannot compromise on and support and condone and endorse. I can't, and I won't. And you shouldn't either. If you're truly walking with God and you're keeping God first, then you would be convicted in your spirit that you couldn't possibly be a part of some of these worldly things and agendas and groups and all these causes and all that, because what this really is a division of mankind. So if you can divide people, you can conquer them. And that's what this is really all about. So it's just like these people at the temple of Satan that say, and the church of Satan as well, they don't believe in a devil, in a devil, an actual being. That's what they say. They just believe in the spirit of rebellion and doing whatever they want to do, however they want to do it, when they want to do it, period. But that's not true. Someone like Anton LaVey, who was the leader of the Church of Satan, that church formed in 1966 in San Francisco, California. And LaVey did believe in a devil. And LaVey was involved with some high-level black magicians. And LaVey put a death curse. It was, I've read about this, and it was a legend that LaVey put this death curse on Jane Mansfield. And Jane Mansfield was beheaded in a car accident along with someone else, because LaVey allegedly was involved romantically with Jane Mansfield. And I guess she upset him by going with someone else, and then allegedly had put this death curse on her. So if these people don't believe in the actual being, then how would they be able to invoke his power through this ritual black magic that could actually be so powerful to end a person's life? So don't be deceived when these types of characters say to you that they don't believe in a literal being. That's for the press. That's for the media, in order to sell their religion as an innocent type of thing. And it's just a philosophy and a lifestyle. Don't believe that garbage for 1 second. I could go on and on and on about this, and I've written about it in other books. I believe in my book, Purge, I wrote about this quite a bit. So maybe I'll read some excerpts from Purge next week, but be not deceived. The devil is a roaring lion seeking to devour mankind in any way, shape, or form. I watched a program earlier that was talking about, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was some type of Japanese dance. And this was satanic to the core. These people, I don't know if they're still doing it now, but they paint themselves completely white. They become robotic. It reminded me, that seeing the depictions on the program, it reminded me of some people that I've seen under possession. And it was just unbelievable how it was presented as a good and innocent thing. But in essence and in reality, it was satanic to the core. It involved bloodlust. It involved sacrifices. It involved a lot of satanic commitment and activity. Yet people were deceived into this. And one lady I saw briefly on this broadcast, it cost her life. And so you have to be very, very careful, because the devil is clever and he can present something that is absolutely evil. It is good and acceptable and positive, and let's embrace that and let's be a part of that. And it is high wickedness the whole time. And two things are going to happen if you get involved with something like that. One, you're going to invoke the wrath of Yahweh. Read Deuteronomy 28, the blessings and then the curses. If you do not hearken unto his voice and you invoke his wrath, it's going to be disastrous. And secondly, the devil has been given that power by Yahweh to send demons out, to place curses, hexes, vexes, and spells on people. And there's the black magic practitioners that have the ability and capabilities and invoking the power of the devil and manifesting these types of curses, hexes, vexes, and spells. It's very real. It happens all the time, and it's happening more and more in our society. So you have to be aware. You cannot be deceived by these things. Always go back to Isaiah 5:20. And you've heard me say this every week. Write it down. If you're not understanding what I'm saying about Isaiah 5:20, write it down. Punch it up on your phone or computer and save it. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. That's what this is all about, everybody. Into thinking that it's okay. It's okay to be a part of evil. It's okay to endorse things that you know are wicked. It's okay to be down with all of the satanic entertainment and presentations. It's okay to worship politicians. It's okay to worship your pastor or priest. It's okay to do anything and everything under the sun because you're saved by grace. You're no longer under the curse of the law. Well, I never knew the law was a curse. If you read the Old Testament, nowhere in the Old Testament will you find that it says the law is a curse. That is Yahweh's perfect law. And so Constantine and his gang, the scribes, they formed this new religion of Christianity, and they put in 10 commandments. In reality, there's 613 commandments, not 10, but number. And that's what people try to live by, but there's actually 613. Let that sink in for a minute. So the only way that you're going to be able to navigate through this mess that we're in right now is by making God first and keeping him first and allowing him to guide you. Therefore, if you are hearkening onto his voice, again, read Deuteronomy 28. If you're hearkening onto his voice, he will bless you in all of your ways. He will guide you in all of your ways. He will empower you and help you to stand against your enemies and overcome them. Otherwise, forget it. You're not going to have his blessing and favor, and you're going to have one problem after another, and your life will become a disaster. A lot of people out there like that right now. So either you're going to submit before God and make him first, or you're not. The choice is yours. I can't force you to do anything, nor do I want to, but I can assure you, as a living witness and a walking miracle, that what I'm telling you is true because it's from personal experience. My life was so horrible. I didn't want to live anymore. And God saved me and transformed my life, and then put this calling on my life that I'd be a warrior for him and a man that he would work through to help in a variety of ways. And now my life is so blessed that I'm life on anybody's life on this planet. That's what he does. He makes the impossible possible. But there's only one way that can happen, and that's by your faith, real and authentic faith. And you cannot have that type of faith unless you are sincere in your walk and relationship with him. There is no other way. So I hope and pray you're taking my words to heart because they are true. And if God has blessed me in this way, surely he will bless you in a similar way. This life is a journey of learning. Knowledge is power, and power perceived is power achieved, and we cannot learn unless we grow. And really, the only way that we can learn and grow is through mistakes. So we all have a journey in life for the better and for the worse, and we all have a flip side of bad things that have happened to us throughout our lifetime. In my case, it was necessary for me to have suffered in the way that I have, in childhood and my teen years going into my adult years. It was necessary because I couldn't be where I'm at right now in helping others had I not been there to suffer. It's all part of the journey, and we all go through sufferings. And we're going to continue to have challenges because we're in a sinful world. Therefore, we are subject to bad things happening. Bad things do happen to good people all the time. So there's really no preparation for that. And the only way that we can get through it is by our faith and just drawing as close to God as we possibly can so that he will help us to meet whatever has taken place in a negative, challenging, adverse way. Not only meet that challenge, but to overcome it. So we just have to remain faithful to him in every way and make sure that you're praying over every single thing that you take into your body. I don't care if it's a sin. Pray over it. Thank God for it and ask him to bless it to your body. Because even if it's poisoned and we don't know it's poison, he'd still make it good for nourishment. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and take poison and God will bless it and make it good for you. I'm saying that if someone has put poison into our food and we didn't know it, and we pray over that, then God can bless that and make that good for our nourishment that we didn't even know it was poison and certainly had no intent to ingest poison. Because if there's intent, so it's just like some of these preachers that, I don't know if they're still doing it, but some take these snakes, these poisonous snakes, and they wrap them around them and they let the snakes bite them and all this stuff. You are tempting God. So when the devil was in the wilderness with Jesus, he took him to a high place, which I believe was inside of a UFO craft, of a monocraft. But also he took him up to, it was like a mountain first. And he was standing at the edge of the cliff. And he said to Jesus, why don't you just go ahead and jump off? You're the Son of God. He'll save you. Go ahead. And Jesus said to him, it is not good to tempt God. We don't do these things. So we don't take a gun and put it right here and pull the trigger and think, oh, well, God's going to save us because, I'm blessed and anointed and I'm covered. So I can shoot myself in the head all I want. I'm going to be saved. We don't go out and step in front of a vehicle, traveling at 50, 60 miles an hour and think that we're going to survive that because God's with us and nothing's going to happen to us. We don't jump off of mountains. We don't jump out of planes with a parachute. We should never take poisonous snakes and around us and say, oh, you go ahead and bite me and I don't care about your venom because God's going to save me from it. That is tempting God, Yahweh. That's tempting him, and that's out of order because now you are taking him for granted. You're taking his blessing and favor for granted. Yes, he is with us. He is for us. And when we're making him first, he will keep it covering over us, just like he did for Daniel, the men in the fiery furnace. It's done it for me countless times throughout my life. But we cannot take that for granted and tempt him because that will not be a good ending. So keep that in mind as well. So with that said, read a few more of these headlines.